Hello, 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 everyone. Today we are making an herbal infused oil together. In particular, I'm making a lavender infused oil today, and you can use just about any herb, dry herb, or carrier oil that you like, depending on what you're going to use this oil for. But we'll go through that whole thing as I'm showing you the process that I'm using to make the infused oil. So let's get to it. All right, so you see the big crock pot here. So obviously we are going to be using a crock pot today to make our infused oils, but I'm gonna move this to the side. So we are going to start with a mason jar of lavender because we're making lavender infused oil today. And I filled this somewhere between half and 3/4 of the way full because I want to leave lots of space and room for the lavender to blossom, for it to grow, and for it to, really infuse itself into the carrier oils. There are a few ways that you can make herbal infused oil. One is to take this, fill it with oil, and put it in the sun for 2 to 3 weeks, and you would shake it, turn it over, make sure that the lavender is getting all in there, and turn it every day. That takes about 3 weeks. Or you could use something like this, which is a pie pan, a glass pie pan, so it's oven safe, and you can put your herbs in here and then fill this up with oils, like not fill it up, but at least make sure that the oil covers your herbs, and then put this in the oven for on low, maybe 200 degrees, and keep it in there for about 8 hours on low. That's the second way. The third way, and the way that we're going to do today, is in a crock pot. So I have my crock pot here. I put just a little bit of water in here because I've already turned it on. But in the crock pot, for me, it's a little easier because I can pretty much set it and forget it. I just come and make sure that there's enough water at the bottom to continue to heat the oils. So first we have the crock pot, but you want some type of towel or washcloth to put at the bottom to make sure that there's some type of barrier between your jar and your crock pot. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit more. I preheated the water just to get it started, just to make sure. So I'm gonna put a little bit of water in there and let that get started kind of heating up. Let me see. Yeah, that's 150, so that's good. All right, so next I'm going to put my carrier oil in here. Now for carrier oils, there are different types of carrier oils. I am going to use extra virgin olive oil today because I am making, this will go into a salve that I'm making for my son who has really bad eczema. He gets really bad eczema flare-ups on his skin. So I'm going to use extra virgin olive oil. He doesn't get eczema on his face, so I'm not really concerned about him clogging pores or anything like that. I just want something that's going to be good and moisturizing for his skin, his body. So extra virgin olive oil is the carrier oil that I am using today. So tools that you're gonna need: your crock pot. You're going to need your jar of 2 jars one that you're going to put the herb and the oil in, and then an empty jar. You're going to need a strainer and also cheesecloth to strain it even more and make sure that you don't have any bits of dried herb in your oil when you're done. So I have put in my extra virgin olive oil in here, and I'm just smooshing it down a little bit. There's plenty of oil in here. It may not seem like it, but on the bottom, see, I'll put the top on first. Okay. Now, on the bottom, you can see that the lavender is rising to the top, but all of the oils, they're, I don't know, a good 1/4 of an inch of oil at the bottom. So that's why I just wanted to mush it down to make sure that all of the lavender was getting soaked. So I'm gonna put that in my crock pot. It's on low, and I'll put some more water in here. To about half of the jar. It's about half of the jar. Let me check and make sure. Okay, temperature is still at 150. I'm gonna keep this on low. I'm not gonna turn it on high just now. I'm just gonna keep it on low, and you keep it here for at a minimum 4 hours, but I would say 8 hours, because the longer that you let the herbs steep, the better it will be for your oil, and the more of that herb you will have in your oil. We're going to let this sit for 8 hours and come back. While we're waiting for our oil to get done, I wanted to come and talk to you about the oils and about herbs, and how to choose the best one for your product that you're going to make. I'm going to use what I'm doing as an example. I am using lavender and infusing olive oil with the lavender, because I'm making a salve for my son who gets really bad eczema flare-ups. And he usually gets flare-ups on his hands, his arms, all over his body, sometimes depending on how bad the flare-up is. So for the carrier oil, I'm using extra virgin olive oil because I want that moisture, I want that richness in the olive oil, because he's going to be using it on his body and not on his face. If I was concerned if he got eczema flare-ups on his face, or he was going to use it on his face, then I might choose a different oil, like a jojoba oil, or maybe even a sweet almond oil for a carrier oil, because it will be less likely to clog his face, to clog his skin and his pores. But since he's using it on his body, your body can handle a lot more moisture and thicker oils than your face can. So extra virgin olive oil it is for the carrier oils. There are also oils like avocado oil, sweet almond oil, I mentioned jojoba oil, safflower oils, grapeseed oil. Those are good carrier oils. But before you choose that oil, you also want to make sure that you know how long you're going to keep the oil, because there are certain carrier oils that will not stay on the shelf that long. They are not as stable. The olive oil is very stable. I could probably keep this in the jar for 6-8 months and not worry about it going rancid. But there are other oils that will not be able to stay on the shelf as long. So do your research, see what your intent for this product will be, what this intent for your oil is going to be, and then choose the best carrier oil that will satisfy your requirements. Now, when we're talking about herbs, I would suggest that you use dried herbs instead of fresh herbs in this case, because fresh herbs still have a little bit of that water content in the herbs, which when you mix, when it starts to the process, the infusion process, you will also get the water in your oil, which would not be good. And then that means you'll have to put a preservative in, how much oil is in there, and calculate how much it's a lot. So I would suggest using dried herbs where the water is already completely dried out. You won't have to worry about water and oil mixing, none of that stuff. So that makes it a lot simpler. And there are tons of herbs out there with tons of different properties that would be really good for your skin. Some common ones, lavender. For instance, I've made another infused oil with chamomile and chickweed, because that also helps to reduce inflammation in your skin if you have flare-ups. So I'm also going to use that oil in my salve with this one that I'm making here. You can use rosehip. Rosehip is a very good herb to use and infuse into an oil. It's very good for your skin. And there are tons and tons of other ones. Those are just the most common. But do your research, see what you're going to use the product for and what type of herb will help facilitate, the intent of that product. I'm going to check back with you guys later after this oil is done. See you in a bit. All right, everybody, so it has been 8 hours and I've just taken this out of the crock pot, and our oil, it looks like the lavender has really infused itself with the oil. It looks really good. So I'm going to transfer it from this jar to our clean jar, and I'm going to use my strainer here. And I'm going to put some cheesecloth over top just to make sure that I don't lose any of this good oil and I don't get any lavender in here. So before I do that, so there you have it, guys. We've gone from this to a beautifully infused jar of olive oil that I'll be using in my salve. I'll make sure to make a video of it and post it so you guys can see how I've made the salve. Let me know if you've made any of your own herb infused oils and how it's turned out for you and what method you used. I'll talk to you soon.